Hello class, welcome to week 9 of programming logic with Python. So for this week, I've already put out the homework walkthrough video earlier this week. Most of you guys have done the homework. I also made an announcement for next week, which is week 10, for test 2, which we will be doing next week. It's going to cover a lot of different topics. Let me just pull up the syllabus so that I can actually tell you guys. I'm sure you guys already know what topics will be on the test, but I will just reiterate it here. So we're going to be covering loops, functions, lists and tuples, and dictionaries and sets. So those 4 weekly topics that we've covered since test 1 will be on test 2. So like I said in the Blackboard announcement, make sure you guys read the chapter readings again if you have to. If you haven't done so already, the chapter readings are really good background. I also recommend going through the homeworks again. As far as, I'm not sure if it allows you to edit the homework after you originally submit it, but at least look at the problem and try to understand how you got to that point. And also, there's actually one more tool. Let me just remove. I'm gonna remove this really quick. I'm just gonna bring up Cengage because there's one other way you can practice, and just give me a second. Okay, so I can bring this back up. All right. So I'm currently opening up Cengage. So the first week is week 6, which was loops. So weeks loops, it would be right here. Okay. So because yeah, right? Yeah, chapter 3. Okay, so start at chapter 3 for loops. So it's going to be starting at chapter 3 but lesson 3.5. So obviously 3.5 says reading right here, and then for 3.6 you have loops, and 3.7 you have loops again, another reading, another reflection. For this specific week, I'm pretty sure I assigned lab activity 3.7, but if you notice in lesson 3.6, there's something called a practice exercise. Those practice exercises, like if you go through each of these lessons, there's another practice exercise into 3.8, and if I go under 3.9, do I get one? I don't. Okay. But at least for 3.6 and 3.7, there's practice exercises. Do those, because I never assigned those for homework. Those were just like, if you wanted to do it, you could. They're as they say, they're good practice, and they won't interfere with the actual homework assignment. Because if you're worried about, opening up the past homework assignment and maybe changing something by accident, with these practice exercises, you won't run into that problem. I'm also going to give you another practice tool that you can use in preparation for the test, but I recommend doing these. And it's not just for chapter 3. If I go to chapter 4, I can find one under 4.2, under 4.4, and then chapter 5. I'm sure I can find a couple here. Um, 5.4. 5.5 has two. So just look for them. Go through each of the chapters. I'm not exactly sure what view you guys have in Cengage, but if it's similar to mine, then go click into each chapter, click into each lesson or each section of each chapter, like section 1, section 2, and look for these practice exercises because they're really helpful for not just the programming aspect that you're going to see in test 2, like the programming questions at the end, but they can also help you gain a better understanding of the topic, which could help you in the multiple choice code interpretation section of the test. So I highly recommend doing this. So I'm going to get back to the other site I was on. So this is called W3 Schools. I did include this link in the class announcement that I put out yesterday. I highly recommend also using this as a sort of preparation thing, not just for this test, but for any test in any other programming language you might end up learning later on down the line if you guys decide you want to pursue programming. This site is really good for helping you understand the baseline of whatever language you're learning. So in this case, like if you see up here, we have Python, they also have CSS, they have JavaScript, SQL, they have C++, they have R, so just a lot of different languages, and they break it down for you. So like on this left-hand sidebar, you can see there's the Python home, so it just kind of gives you like the most basic Python program, the hello world. So like how do you, whenever you learn a language, the first thing you're going to do is tell the, well, write hello world in the language console. So in this case, we're writing print hello world, and it's going to be printed out. So if I do try it yourself, it gets printed out to the Python interpreter console. But we've done this like week one, I believe. So, but we did it in MindTap. So it goes step by step from intro to syntax to comments, like how to write a Python comment and so forth. So if you guys are struggling with any specific topic from past weeks, I suggest you go here. It's really short. It usually is like maybe, as you can see as I'm scrolling down, it's not a lot. Each of these are like relatively short. They try to simplify it as best as they can, and they give you the option to try it yourself, so you can not only see the code but see the output of the code, and then that way you could kind of connect that to whatever instruction they're giving to you beforehand. So like for getting a type of a variable, they have the variable x, they equate it to 5, and then they print out x, but they use the type method. So they do type in parentheses and then the variable of x, and what that's going to do, it's going to give me the type of the value that's associated with x. In this case, it's 5, and 5 is an integer, so that's why it says class integer. So that specifically is not going to be on the test. I'm just kind of like showing you that this is stuff we learned in previous weeks, and they explain it very simple. They simplify it really well here, and that's why this site's really good for beginners and intermediate people. As we get into more, not necessarily in this class, but if you want to become a more advanced programmer, then you're going to have to look for other sites, but this site is really good for beginners and intermediate. So let's get to dictionaries. I figured I'd use this site just as like a kind of first exposure for you guys to see how easy they explain the topic of this week, which was dictionaries and sets. Yes. So the very first thing they show for dictionaries, we're going to handle dictionaries first, is they give you a straight up dictionary with values inside of it. So the name of this dictionary right here is right here. So that's the name of the dictionary. It's basically this dictionary, but dictionary shortened. And then they do equal. So it's the same. So when you call a dictionary, it's the same thing as when you will create a brand new list or a brand new, what was the other one? A brand new list and a tuple. My mind went blank. It's the same way as you create a brand new list, a tuple, or a set. You always give the name of whatever. Think of it as like a variable name, but in this case, it's the name of the dictionary. You're going to equate it a value of something. Now, as we saw with a list is usually surrounded by square brackets, but for a dictionary, we don't use square brackets, we use curly brackets. And it's these brackets that distinguish the two. So like when Python sees the different brackets, the moment Python sees the curly bracket, they're going to say, okay, he's trying to create a dictionary. The moment Python sees a square bracket, they're going to say, okay, he's trying to create a list. So it's just stuff like that. That's how Python distinguishes it, because you might say, okay, well, how does Python know what I'm creating? And then with tuples, the way Python knows you're creating a tuple is because you do a regular parenthesis. So it's like the curved parenthesis. It's not a bracket, it's not a square bracket, it's not a curly bracket, it's straight up parenthesis. But that was tuples. So let's get back to dictionaries. So inside of a dictionary, instead of putting like a singular either word or value or character or anything like that, they kind of do it with pairs. So just as if you were to open up a physical dictionary and you were looking for a specific word and the definition of the word, it's the same thing in Python. There's always the word. It doesn't always have to be a word, but it's always like what they call a key. So the key is like the thing that it's I guess it's like you could compare it best with a word in a dictionary. And then you have a value. So it's a key value pair. There's always going to be a pair inside of a dictionary. So in this case, the key is brand, and then you separate the key and the value with a colon, and then the value here is actually Ford. Both of those things are strings. That's why they're in quotation marks. Now, sorry. Now, if we go to the third key value pair, we see a string of year, but we see a value of 1964. Now, why do you think 1964 is not in quotation marks? Because it's a number. The number is a numbers are not placed in quotation marks, only strings, only like words or sentences are placed in quotation marks. If it's a whole number, it should be using the integer data type. And integer data types do not have to be stored in quotation marks. They're just straight up numbers. So that's why there's no quotation marks around here. Um, Between each key value pair, you separate them with commas. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. So down here we see a dictionary is a collection which is ordered, changeable, and does not allow duplicates. So that's pretty important. So we saw that were like ordered pairs, were a collection of ordered pairs. They were mutable, or yeah, mutable. So that just means that you can change, you can add stuff, you can take out different parts of your list, like different elements in your list, and you can have duplicates with a list. Now, when we saw tuples, we saw that, okay, a tuple is also a collection of data, but you cannot, um, they're immutable, meaning the values that already exist in a tuple cannot be changed. Now, you can use different methods with tuples to kind of play with the list, use those methods to reference certain data that already exists in the tuple. You can you can also add stuff to the end of the tuple. You just cannot remove stuff that already exists. In that case, it's immutable. Um, but with a dictionary, it's kind of the same as a list as far as being an ordered collection of stuff. You can change stuff. The difference comes with uh, the part where you cannot allow duplicates. So if I were to if I had a list and I wanted to convert that list to a dictionary, all the duplicates in that list would be erased. And we kind of saw that when in one of the homework assignments. I forget which one it was. I believe it was the last one for this week. When we converted a list to a dictionary and it erased all of our duplicates, duplicate like data inside of that list, which is what we wanted for that specific activity. But it's just kind of the benefit and restriction that dictionaries have. So obviously, you can create a dictionary. This is the same dictionary that was above. Now, creating a dictionary is good and all because it stores your data, but it stores it kind of in the background. So you don't actually see that until you print out that dictionary. So that's why in this case, you have to write print, and then you just have to write the name of the dictionary. Just as if I wanted to print out a list, I would print out the name of the list. If I wanted to print out a tuple, I would print out the name of the tuple. So that's kind of what they're doing here. And then they kind of go over the items inside of the dictionary. So each of these things, while they are key value pairs, you can also call them items. So like you don't have to say, oh, the key value of brand Ford. You could say that, but you could also say the item or item one or item two. So item one would be brand Ford, item two would be model Mustang, It's just another way of talking about it. It's not necessarily something that is, I guess, directly referenced inside of Python. So down here, they're printing out the dictionary of up here, this dictionary, but they're specifically printing out only the first item. And so when we test this out, they're referencing the key of brand. So when you specifically call out a key in a dictionary, it's going to print out the value. Now there are methods that we're going to go over in a second that also do this, but this is the most basic way of doing it. And here they just give you a little bit more information, but you guys can read through that if you guys want. Like I said, this link is on Blackboard in the latest announcement. So let's go to accessing dictionary items. So we saw this in the previous example where we had a um, we had a dictionary. It had some items inside of it. Now this is a little bit different because they're not printing it out. They're actually trying to get the value of the key model, and instead of printing it out, they want to actually assign that value to a brand new variable. And that brand new variable is x. So if I try this myself, um, okay, well, this print statement wasn't there before, but now it's here. So they referenced the dictionary of this up here. They specified the key of model. That way they can get the value of model. They assigned all of this to the variable of x, and then they printed out x. And what that does is it just prints out the value associated with model, which we know is Mustang, and that's why I printed out Mustang. So that's all that's happening there. Right now, they're just showing you the most basic way of accessing specific values associated with keys in dictionaries. Now, there are methods, as I said, and it's also included in the PowerPoint if you guys want to reference that as well. So the first method is the get method. So if I were to have the same dictionary as above, this dictionary, and I want the value of the model key. So the same thing that I'm doing here, but I want to use a method to get it. All I have to do is instead of doing the square brackets after the dictionary, I do period get, and then inside of it, I just put the name of the key that I want the value of. In this case, it's model. And by doing this, it's going to assign, well, in this case, because they're equating all this to x, a brand new variable of x, it's going to assign x the value of Mustang. And then when I print out x, it gives me Mustang. It's essentially two ways of getting to the same result. Keys is another way of getting the key. So, yeah. So let's try this. So I still have the same dictionary. I'm still gonna do. I'm gonna reference this dictionary. Do period dot key or period keys. I'm gonna do open parenthesis, close parenthesis. There's no argument inside of it, and I'm assigning all of this into the value of x, a brand new value of x. And that really is just simplifying the printing process. So while I could just do print and then this and then do dot keys, I could do this and it will give me the same result. But it's just, it looks messier, right? So yeah, it gives me all of this. It technically, actually, mm, yeah, it does give me the keys, but it gives me it in a list form. And the way I know it's a list form is because it gives me square brackets. So it might be better just to do X because it's probably going to give it to me in a more clean manner. It gives me in the same manner. Okay, that's fine. So either way works. It's just like it's a cleaner way of writing code, I guess. So keys gives you the keys of like it gives you all the keys in the dictionary, so brand, model, and year. And then get will allow you to get like certain values associated with a certain key. But you have to specify the key that you want the value of. In this case, model, and then it gave us Mustang. So now if I want to change items in a dictionary, how do I do that? So once again, they give you the most basic way of doing it without a method. So I guess I can go over this. So same dictionary, the same what do they call it again? I'm sorry. The same items inside of the dictionary, so brand, model, year. The same, yeah, brand with Ford, model with Mustang, year with 1964. Now, if I wanted to change the value of the key of year, all I'd have to do is call the dictionary's name, put square brackets, and then inside of the square brackets, I have to tell what key I want to change. In this case, I wrote year, and I have to write it the same way it appears in the dictionary. So with the quotation marks, and then you can't uppercase Y, or else it's a whole different thing. And then I do equal, and then I do whatever I want, whatever value I want year to be changed to. In this case, 2018. So that's kind of like the simplified way of doing it. Now, if I want to use a method, which will, I guess, it's like a cleaner way of writing your code, and it makes more sense when you end up writing code for a corporation to use methods over this simplified way of doing it. This is how I would do it. So you would use the update method. This updates the dictionary with the items from the given argument. So same way, you always have to call call the dictionary's name. And for any method that you use for dictionary, sets, tuples, and lists, it's really all just calling the name of that specific um, dictionary item or dictionary tuple, sets, or list, period, and then the name of the method. In this case, the name of the method is update, and in previous examples, it was get, it was what was it? It was get, and it was keys. So it's always period, and then whatever it is, and then there's usually always parentheses. Sometimes we put arguments inside of them, sometimes we don't. It really depends on the method. So if you guys want specifics on what would go into certain methods, it's in the PowerPoint, so go look at that. So for here, for the update method, it takes two arguments. And when you enter in the arguments inside of the regular parentheses, you do have to put the curly brackets because you're referencing an item in the dictionary. So to tell Python that I want to reference this specific key value pair, I have to call the pair inside of the dictionary's curly brackets, inside of the regular parentheses. So that's why you see these double regular parentheses and then curly brackets. And then you write it the same way as it would appear inside of the original dictionary. The only difference is for whatever value for that key, you would change it to whatever you want to change it to, and then it would update it. So let's go to adding dictionary items. So I'm not going to go over the first part. You guys can go over that because we're not really, the test won't really concern itself with this way of doing it. It's going to concern it, or I prefer you guys to write it like this. So that's what I'm going to go over. So actually, this is the same thing. It's the update method. So when you want to change something or add something, you just use the update method with dictionaries. So same syntax. So you guys can obviously see that you have the regular parentheses. You actually have the name of the dictionary, period, update, regular parentheses, and then you have the curly brackets, the key that you want to manipulate, and then the value that you want to assign to that key. Now, if you notice, there's no key called color in the original dictionary, and that's because we're not actually editing an existing key value pair. We're just adding this new key value pair to the dictionary. So when I execute this, I'm going to see brand Ford, model Mustang, year 1964, and now I see color red because I updated the original dictionary with this key value pair. Just because it doesn't exist, as long as I do the dot update, if it doesn't exist, it's just going to add this key value pair together. It's not just going to replace the value. So that's that. Let's go to remove items. So the there's a couple ways of removing items with dictionaries. The two that, well, the one I want to actually focus on is dot pop, or yeah, pop, because pop is the, I guess, newer version of removing specific key names from a dictionary. So as you see down here, the pop item method removes the last inserted item in versions before 3.7. So it don't worry too much about pop item. Delete removes the item with a specified name. Delete can also delete the dictionary completely, and then the clear method empties the dictionary completely. But let's focus on pop because pop really manipulates only one key value pair. So we have the dictionary again right here. Now we're calling the dictionary by typing the name. We're doing period pop, and inside of pop we pass one argument. And that argument is whatever key we want to remove from the dictionary. In this case it's model. So when I run this code and I print out the new value of the dictionary, I get brand Ford and then year 1964. So the moment I removed the key of model, Mustang was also removed. Because remember, they're a pair, so when one gets removed, the other also gets removed. Well, yeah, I guess for now, just think of it like that. So let's go to loop dictionaries. I do believe we looped some dictionaries in one of the homework assignments. I can't remember exactly if we did, but I think we did. So you can loop through a dictionary by using a for loop. When looping through a dictionary, the return value are the keys of the dictionary, but there are methods to return the values as well. So let's start with this one. So if I want to print out all the key names in the dictionary, how would I do that? So they kind of show you, they actually write the code for you. You would do for, because for, that's the loop they want you to use. The x is the dummy variable. Remember, x is just representing each key in the dictionary. So like let me try again. Okay, so I have the dictionary right here. So in this case, x would represent brand, then model, and then year. It represents each of those every time it loops, and it's going to loop 3 times because there's 3 entries in this dictionary. And so when I say in is always just the typical syntax that's used in a for loop, and then we have the name of the dictionary. So when I do just print x, and remember it's indented, so this print statement is going to execute whenever this for loop is true, or whenever the for loop is executing. It's just going to print out all of the key names in this list. So what if I want the values of the dictionary, not the keys? So you would do it like this. You would do for x in the dictionary, so that doesn't change. What changes is your print statement. So inside of the print statement, you would do the name of the dictionary, and then you do the square brackets, and then you put x. Why? Because x is actually representing, I guess in this case, x is representing the value of the, yeah, because it would represent the value of the key value pair. Because we're putting x inside of parentheses, or inside of square brackets next to the dictionary name. So when I run this, it can get a little bit confusing because this x represents brand model year, but when we put the x after it inside of square brackets, it's actually representing the value. Um, so yeah, I believe we had an example like this in the homework, but they have other examples where they kind of go over this. So they do use the values method. So this might be a little bit more simple for you to use if you want to get the value as opposed to this. So there's a specific method that will get you the values of the dictionary. So all you have to do is for, then your x, which is your dummy variable, in is always going to be there, and then you name the name of the dictionary. You do period dot values, and with no arguments inside of it, and then you just print x, and that's just going to get you all the values. It's a lot more simpler, and it's probably the way most of you guys are going to want to do it, as opposed to this, which can be a little bit confusing. And then you have your keys method, which is going to get you the keys of the dictionary. And I believe we went over keys, but this is within loops. It's the same way. So you do for x dummy variable in, and then you do the name of the dictionary, and then you do dot keys. No arguments are getting put inside of the parentheses, and then you just print out x. And by doing that, it's going to get you all the keys inside of that dictionary. Very simple way of doing it. I'm just going to close all these because I'm starting to accumulate way too many. So yeah, I think that's going to be the preferred way of doing it. Now, if I want both key and value of like the key value pair in the dictionary, you can use the items method. The items method will get you both. So it's the same way, except the way you call it, because I'm getting both the key and the value, you have to declare two dummy variables, and you have to print out both dummy variables. So that's why they do for x comma y in, and then the name of the dictionary dot items. No arguments are put inside of it, and then you print out x and y, and that's going to get you brand Ford, model Mustang, and then year 1964. So that's loops with dictionaries. We can go to copy with dictionaries. This is pretty straightforward. It's not anything too crazy. If you want to get essentially a photocopy of a dictionary, just so that you can like maybe edit that copy, like make changes to the copy without directly affecting the dictionary that might be in a live environment, that's when you would use this copy method. So to get a copy of a dictionary, you just do first you have to create a brand new variable, and that brand new variable is going to hold the copy of the original dictionary, because you have to put it somewhere. So that's why in this case the name of the dictionary is this, and then the new variable that's holding the copy is my. So we're setting my equal to the name of the original dictionary dot copy, and then open and close parentheses. And then when we print it out, we're printing out the new dictionary of my, which stores the copy of the original dictionary, which is this. So that's all that's doing. Don't worry about nested dictionaries. We're not gonna go over that. We're not gonna cover that on the test or anything. And then here's just like a list of dictionary methods. If you guys want to click on one like specifically, just to like learn more about it, it allows you to click on it. So like I said, focus on pop, focus on keys, item, get, copy, values, update. Yeah. So ignore set, ignore pop item, ignore clear, and then you guys should be good. And then there's more exercises right here. So that's dictionaries. I'm going to quickly go through sets. Sets are kind of the same, but slightly different. So for sets, sets are used to store multiple items in a single variable. Sets are, a set is one of four built-in data types used to collect items. So we have lists, tuple, and dictionaries. A set is a collection which is unordered, unchangeable, and unindexed. So sets cannot be changed while dictionaries can. So that's one thing that you might want to remember. But you could remove items and you could add items. So you can't change existing data, but you can add or remove stuff. Or you can, yeah, you can remove or add stuff. But wait, unchangeable, but you can remove items and add new items. Okay, yeah, you can remove items and add new items, so which is, yeah, a bit weird how it says unchanged. Maybe remove new items, so you can't remove the existing items. I think that's kind of what they mean. So this is how you create a set. So sets also use curly brackets, so same as dictionaries. But we're going to get into the differences. So set items are unchangeable, meaning that we cannot change the items after the set has been created. So from the moment it's originally created, you can't change that data. But when you add stuff and then when you add stuff, therefore, you can remove those added stuff. That's what they meant. So that was like confusing me. You cannot have duplicates inside of a set. It won't be allowed. Um, it's unordered, meaning that the items in a set do not have a defined order. Okay, so set items can appear in a different order every time you use them. Okay, as opposed to dictionaries, which are ordered. So every time you print out a dictionary, if say you don't make any changes to it, you're printing it out 10 times, it's going to appear the same 10 times. With a set, it might the order of items inside of it might be different every time you print it out. So that's kind of another distinction between the two. So with sets, we also have methods that we can use. Um, so with sets, we also have methods that we can use. In this case, to access data in a set, we can just kind of like use a loop. So like they have a set right here. So this set equals and then apple, banana, cherry. We're using the for loop. So for x is our dummy variable in, and then we do in the name of the set, which is this set. We're just printing out x. What that's going to do is it's going to print out apple, banana, and cherry. So say I wanted to, yeah, you cannot access items in a set by referring to an index or a key. Yeah, because the reason we can't do it by the index of a specific item in a set is because the item will always change its position. So the only way we can actually access items in a set is through loops, because loops will loop out every item in the set. So if I wanted to get a specific if I wanted to check to see if a specific element was in my set, I can use this print statement. So print banana in this set, and that's without using a loop, but it's just checking to see if banana, this string of banana, exists in the set, and it does. So if I do that, it's going to print out a boolean of true. So if I want to add items to the set, you would use the add method. And then you could also use the update method. You can use both. We don't, I don't have the test in front of me, but I don't believe I included a lot of things about set, but I could be wrong. But review these regardless. So the add method, so if I wanted to add a new item to my set, I would do the name of the set, which is this set, period, add, and then the one argument I would include is whatever I want to add to that list, and that addition to the list will be added to the end of my set. So if I do try, it's gonna, well, obviously it's gonna be added to the end of the set, but because sets are not ordered, it's appearing in a different order every time. So orange was the third item here. If I run it again, it might change. Yeah, now it's the first. So yeah, technically it adds it to the end, but then order in a set doesn't really matter. I can also update, so updating will also add it to the current set. They both do the same thing, so it's your choice as to what you want to do. It's just a different method that you're using. So you do period add or period update. So let's go to remove set items. So to remove a set item, there's different ways to do it. We have pop, we have clear, delete, and discard, and then remove. So the ones I want you guys to focus on will probably be remove and pop. The rest are useful, but are not necessarily the ones we're gonna focus on for our class. So for pop, it really only takes one argument. So it's the name of the set, which is this set, period, pop, and then you have the parentheses. And we're equating all this to a brand new variable of x. So when we print out essentially this method with the set, it's going to print out the removal of x, which in this case is, what are we removing? Hold on. This set dot pop cherry removed item x. This set the set after removal. Hold on. Remove the. Oh, it's removing the last item. Okay, so it's removing cherry. So in this case, yeah, that's why cherry was put up here. And then when we print out this set, it no longer has cherry inside of it. Yeah. And then for remove, so to remove an item in a set, use the remove or discard. Remove banana by using the remove method. So the name of the set dot remove, and then I'm telling it specifically what I want it to remove, which is banana, and then when I print it out, it's just going to print out apple and cherry. So we went over loops with sets because that's how we get the actual content of a set, the elements inside of the set, because we can't reference specific indexes. So we kind of already went over this. If we want to join sets, there is a way of doing it. So the way I believe we did it in one of the homework assignments was through the update method, but I could be wrong. It could have also been the union method, but I believe it was update. So I have two sets right here. I have set 1 and set 2. And to use the update method, it's always calling the name of the set. In this case, it's set 1 because I want to add set two's contents to set 1, so I would do set 1 period update, and the one argument that I'm going to put inside of my update method is the name of set 2. It's whatever I want to add to the original set is what I'm going to put in here. In this case it's set 2, so when I print out set 1 now has the elements of not just set 1 but also of set 2 all in one set. So when I print this out, it's going to be 3, well obviously it's mixed in the order in which the elements appear, because it's a set and the set is unordered, but it has all the elements of both lists now in set 1. And then, so that's combining. So if you guys want to go over the methods for sets, they're here. The ones I would say to focus on are, you could copy, add, pop, remove, and update. The rest you don't have to worry about. And then this gives you like kind of like practice using sets. And that's it. That's really all we covered for this week. Obviously the homework had its own set of like examples, and then the PowerPoint has a little bit more in-depth explanation on sets and like the arguments that go inside of each method. So if you guys are wondering about that, definitely go there. But you could also use this. So like if I were to go to pop, it should tell me what arguments. Okay, so right here. So no parameter values go inside of pop because it just removes a random item from the set. But if I were to go to, let's say, update, so update will tell you what parameters go inside of it. So you guys can also use this to know what stuff goes inside of each method in case you guys want to, you're unsure, or if you just want to be familiar with it prior to the test. This is also a good reference, but you could also check the PowerPoint. So yeah, I think that's it. So I just wanted to get this video out. I know it's a little bit late, but at least it could be helpful in your preparation for test 2. So it should be up within, I guess, half an hour from now. So I'll also make another Blackboard announcement just letting you guys know this video exists. So definitely go over this video, go over any other past YouTube videos if you guys find them helpful for understanding the content. Because sometimes when you read stuff, it can kind of go over your head, but when someone else is trying to explain it to you, it might hit a little bit differently. So definitely use these videos, but if you guys have questions, always send an email, especially before test 2. If you guys just need some clarification on something, I can always respond. I usually respond pretty quickly, so definitely try to prepare yourself as best as you can, because for test 2, I believe you guys only have, let me open up Blackboard. I believe it was either 45 or 50 minutes. So test 2 is, okay, so 45 minutes. So 45 minutes, 20 questions, 18 questions are going to be like code interpretation. So when I say code interpretation, I actually just mean, so let's go to, we can use this. Okay, so here we have like a piece of code. We have in this case it's a dictionary, or well, it's a set of items, apple, banana, cherry. We have an if statement. Well, it's missing something here. it might miss. It might be like this. It might just be like a block of code, and I might say, what does this print out? Is it going to print out yes, apples are fruit, or is it going to print out something else? It's going to be like questions like that. And then the other questions are multiple choice, so you're going to have like different options you can choose from, a true and false, and fill in the blanks, which is essentially what this is, because it's saying if apple, and then you could like do submit answer. It will show you the answer. It's in. Um, so you guys can definitely practice these. Oh, that was another thing. So how do I get? Okay, so if you go to the end of sets and dictionaries, dictionaries also has this. Go to dictionary exercise. Go to start the exercise. It's gonna bring you to this new tab, and then in this tab, notice just for dictionaries, it gives you 5 exercises that you can practice. So definitely try to do these as well. And then you could go to sets right here. Sets also gives you 5. And then if you guys want to go to previous weeks, so like lists, tuples, um, I guess operators, data types, variables, what else? If statements. So all of that stuff you can practice, even for loops, functions. So all of that stuff, they have exercises there that you guys can practice. That's also very helpful, not just for the programming questions, but for the, I guess, code interpretation, fill in the blank questions. It'll be really helpful for that. So definitely use that. So you guys, for test two, like I said, on Blackboard, the announcement's there, 45 minutes. Once you guys begin the test, you have to complete it in one sitting. Um, and then, like I said, 20 questions. But use as many resources to practice. Use this website, use the PowerPoint, use the YouTube videos, use MindTap, like I said, the practice exercises, and just get as much practice in as possible, because the test is not hard, but it's hard if you don't understand the topic. So, like I said, send me an email if you guys don't understand something. I'm gonna make a Blackboard announcement right now letting you guys know this video exists because it's a little bit late. And I'll see you guys the week after next week, which will be week 11. Alright, I'll see you guys then.